Chicago City Council has recently voted for equitable access to EVs. Now, this is a topic we had touched upon earlier, and by earlier, I mean like middle of last year, on how it's becoming more effective and efficient and cost effective for new buildings and new parking lots to have charging spots built in compared to the cost of retrofitting existing building and parking structures. Well, here in my city, the city of Broad Shoulders, Chicago, Illinois, they have passed an ordinance that says that all new multi-person residents and parking lots with multiple spots at businesses have to be plug-in ready or plug-in installed. Now, first I'm going to give you the numbers. So a residential building with 5 or more dwelling units must be plug-in ready, and commercial buildings with 30 or more parking spaces have to have the charging infrastructure installed as part of the parking lot or parking structure construction. So as we know, EV ready, this is level 2, EV installed level 3, and EV ready means the parking spots will have electrical panel capacity so that if somebody wants to install charging, they can. EV installed takes it a step further, and you actually have the charging station installed there. Now, I mean, this is a big deal, especially in cities like Chicago, where you have the multi-tenant buildings, and people commute into the city, and they might drive the entire drive into the city on battery, and they might want to charge before they drive the entire drive back. So this is a great first step, and they did have to step it back a bit. So I said that it was multi-tenant with 5 or more dwellings. Originally, they had targeted 24 residents. But then they realized that if they went with 24, then those are actually pretty big structures, the skyscrapers and the big multi-tenant buildings. So they brought it down to actually impact more multi-tenant structures. So hopefully it'll have a bigger impact that way. So this is kind of just a really neat thing. Of course, as we had talked, having EV charging built in will hopefully draw more tenants. It'll make the real estate more valuable because now people who are interested in driving plug-in vehicles know that they don't have to go out and purchase something, or they at least know that the infrastructure is already in place. And hopefully for the real estate developers, putting this stuff in place will make the real estate more valuable for exactly the same reason. They should be able to draw in more tenants who are EV minded.
Oh yeah, if you already have an EV and say you get relocated or whatever and you need to move, you're only going to be looking for places where you can plug in. Even if it's just, okay, I'm going to live in an apartment for a year while we house shop or whatever, you're going to be looking for places where you can plug in. And if they don't have plug-in, it's not even going to be on your list of places you consider. So it's absolutely going to help them draw in tenants.
Yeah, definitely.
That's how we ended up here. There was a parking spot 3 spaces over from a 120 outlet, which is not ideal, but it's good in a pinch. And my facility that I have for rent out in South Carolina, it's got 100 amp charging and solar, and in fact I pay the electric bill as long as they don't go over the solar output. And they, right now the tenants I have are running gas cars, but if they were to ever go electric, they're not gonna want to go just somewhere else around the corner where they've got their electric bill paid and they've got a place to plug in their electric car.
Yeah, cold climates like here and Mark, I'm sure in Canada as well. If you have multi-tenant buildings, you traditionally have, like underground garages. I've seen that where you have multi-tenant buildings and you have a drive that drops down and you have covered parking.
Yep.
Well, now, I mean, it's going to be great because, I mean, not only are you parking outside, out of the elements, but you can plug in.
Yep.
Absolutely.
It was awesome that they lowered those numbers. I was kind of hoping to see that when they said they lowered it, that they lowered it to something like 3. Two might be expensive for the individual homeowners, but 3 is just like perfect, like a triplex or any small area would be perfect. But like we always say, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good here.
Right.
Yeah, I'm also looking at it from the renter perspective and saying like, does this mean they're going to jack up the rents because oh look we've got an EV charging station? It's like, well, hang on there. It's not a huge facility, and I wonder how that's going to impact things. And then the other side of this is that this is new construction. What about retrofits?
Yeah, hopefully renovations would be required at some point in the future, and yeah, you probably have them sell it as a premium feature of the property. But once everybody's got it, then that'd be like a place without AC is a place without and depending on where you are, obviously. But like say a place where you need the air conditioner in the summer, it'd be like trying to rent a place that doesn't have air conditioner. You're gonna have to charge a significant discount to actually get anybody to look at it.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was, yeah, and both of those, Georgia, were my thoughts as well as I was reading this. And, you know, there are a lot of different, you know, bloggers and articles here in the Chicagoland area, and there is talk of introducing a renovation aspect of this. But yeah, it does come down to they didn't want to wait, and so they're doing this in phases. So first they're doing new construction to sort of get the feet wet to get it going, and then they're having to work out like a percentage of renovation, you know, just how much triggers the need to have to do this sort of, you know, this infrastructure build out.
If they,
Yeah, and
if-
it
if
makes
they-
sense to start with new construction because that's where it's the cheapest to install it. You've already got the drywall off, and you can just run some conduit, and it's not that hard, and it's not that expensive compared to a retrofit.
If they put it in code, wouldn't that make it so that if you do a to the studs retrofit, now you're kind of in order to get your permit, you have to meet that.
Well, I guess, but I mean, yeah, you know, we're talking, you know, these multi-tenant buildings. We're talking, you know, these, you know, apartment complexes, condominium complexes. So, yeah.
It will be interesting to see with the economic pressures a lot of businesses are facing this year if developers aren't pressured to add amenities and to do things to attract paying renters as well. Something that wasn't true last year, certainly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but and how it's going to impact the market because we are in this weird situation where we really don't know what's going to happen fiscally in 3 months or 2 months, honestly. And it might actually prove that it would be cheaper and better for a developer to go to existing properties and make them more attractive with a retrofit of a charging station as opposed to trying to do a new development, because there's a lot of people who are probably not going to be looking for any place new anytime soon.
Yeah,
It's a good point.
and we've seen that the electric sales are setting records month after month, and that didn't stop during the situation that we're in right now. They've continued to set records despite car sales having tanked, and like you said, if it's cheaper to just do them all at once, like A when it's new, or B if you do it right when you want to try and make your property more appealing, if you buy in bulk, it's worth it.
It's worth it.
Yeah, yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'm hoping to see how this works out. And again, you know, it's just one step, and hopefully not only is it you know, a step in the right direction, but hopefully it's a step that other cities will be watching, so that they can see how it's implemented, how it's done, and they can build upon it, and it'll be adopted in more places.